All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Dave's Gone By Facebookio, Podcastio, Programmio of the stream with me, Dave Lefkowitz, and very, very thrilled to have back in the neighborhood after about 15 years, or maybe even more, a musician's musician, I would say. Someone who has his own band called Gods and Monsters. Also, first came to the fore as almost like a teenager in a little band called the Magic Band that was run by a fellow named Don Van Vliet, aka Captain Beefheart. This person that we're about to talk to has had 40 years in the music business, to the point, what's longer than that? How is it a 40th anniversary? Hold on, you've got to unmute. Gary, if you can just turn on your mic. This is Gary Lucas.
How's that?
Fantastic, Gary.
How are you, Dave?
You should have been Midnight Hat Size Johnson, quite honestly.
Right. No, I got into hats later on, but honestly, I chose 40 years because my first appearance on an album was Beefheart's Dock at the Radar Station album, and that one came out in September 1980.
Right. Oh,
So,
okay, so it is 40. Yeah.
well, it's 41 now due to the pandemic, but I thought to backdate it a year would be a little bit easier as a marketing ploy.
Yeah, I mean, you would have celebrated it last year had you.
Yeah, it was all set to go actually in 2020 on May 1st, and then we went into lockdown. So
Well, we want to tell people that this is for the most important thing, that if you are venturing out, if you are going to concerts, this is the night to do it, because Gary Lucas will be at Le Poisson Rouge, the
yeah,
Red Fish, which is, where is this? It's in Manhattan's.
yeah, it's actually the sort of Central West Village. It's between 7th Avenue and University Place, 185 Bleecker Street.
Oh, on Bleecker.
The
Cool.
former Village Underground. It's a beautiful 300-seater club, and you take stairs down to a lovely space. One of the best clubs, if not the best club in New York that I know of to play.
Wow. And since this is your 40th anniversary, it's not just going to be you playing. You're going to have
Oh.
some special guests, such as.
Okay, well, the lineup of my longtime band, Gods and Monsters, consists of the superstar version, and that is Ernie Brooks from the Modern Lovers on bass. He's
Wow.
played with me for years. Jerry Harrison from Talking Heads. He's on keyboards. Jerry came to town specially for this gig. I have a fantastic drummer, Richard Dworkin, who people may know from Alex Chilton, if they're
Oh,
fans of his group, and but he's played with me, and also Fast and Bulbous, a tribute band that I have to Beefheart, and the world of Captain Beefheart, which features the legendary Nona Hendrix essaying the role, as they say, of Beefheart in that lineup. Anyway, and then Jason Candler, my longtime stalwart sax player, he suffered a stroke a couple of months ago, but he's going to sit in on one number. That's how
oh man.
indefatigable this guy is. And so he'll be there to play some keyboard parts on something. And then the guest list is staggering. Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth is sitting in on guitar.
Right.
Trixie Whitley, legendary singer and daughter of Chris Whitley, Columbia Records recording artist, the late Chris Whitley, is going to sing Grace with me. My
because you knew Jeff Buckley very well. You were.
yeah.
Mhm.
And also Emily Duff, who used to be in Gods and Monsters back in the 90s after Jeff Buckley, is sitting in, as is Richard Barone.
Oh my gosh.
From the Bongos, who also was in the lineup after Jeff for a while of Gods and Monsters. And last but not least, Felice Rosser from the group Faith, one of the original Black Rock Coalition bands. She's an awesome vocalist. She's quite a great.
So this is going to be a real career rest. You're going to play some Beefheart.
Yeah,
you're going to play Monsters. You're going to play.
Yeah, I'm trying right now to like put a set list together. It's tough because I don't want to overstay my welcome. I've got 2 hours to do it, but there'll be a lot of like people coming on and off stage. So, if you're looking for a real like fast-paced show, folks, Might have to wait for the. I
No,
mean,
this
there's
is
a lot of moving parts in this show. You know what I mean? I'm trying to cover all the bases.
it's an anniversary celebration. It
There you
should
go.
be. It should go on into the wee hours if you
Well,
haven't
I think
seen.
so, but you know,
No.
there's a curfew at 10 o'clock, so
Oh,
it's going to start at 8. It's going to start. The show starts at 8.
and Le
We
Poisson.
have to be off stage at 10. So it's a 2-hour jam-packed jamboree.
Now, how much have you been playing in public over the past 18 months? How many
Okay,
gigs?
well,
Yeah.
in public, nothing. in
Yeah.
I've been doing 3 times a week live streams right from my apartment here on Facebook, and I have an international audience that tunes in.
Of course.
I would be doing it today if I didn't have to get more prepared for it to leave. But it's every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 3 on Facebook on my regular page. And I have like people who tune in religiously. There's a girl in Sydney, Australia, gets up at 5 a.m., which is
Wow.
what the time is at 3 here, just to catch it. You know, I mean, some real loyal fans in Europe and all sorts of places turn up. So it's kind of a, fun for me because it's allowed me to continue keeping my chops up,
Yeah.
but nothing beats the live experience. And this will be the first real live gig. I did a gig in Maastricht, Holland, no, sorry, Eindhoven, over Halloween at a festival last year. I almost wasn't allowed out of the country to do this. It was a close shave at JFK where I had to browbeat my way onto the plane. Basically, no, they were, you're not an essential worker. I said, come on, I've been invited by the Dutch government here. Here's the invite. Anyway, I prevailed, but it was
Well,
rough. And anyway, but when the gig happened, they just did a lockdown themselves right that week in Holland. So I played a film score live and another concert with a young bass player named Peter Willems I'm making a record with. But we did it in front of technicians in a studio situation.
do you
The film
miss?
score, I was sitting in the actual auditorium where the thing would have had hundreds of people sitting, and had to just pretend I was playing to a crowd.
Yeah. No, I was planning. I'm working with my friend Rabbi Saul Solomon, and we were planning to do like a reading of the show that we worked on together. And a few weeks ago, and we're thinking, oh, we'll do it. We'll get it up. We'll have an audience. And then it was like, no, not yet. So we're just going to film some stuff.
Well, I know a lot of friends of mine too I've invited said, look, I'm not ready to go into an indoor seating situation. And I get it. So, it is, I think we'll have a healthy crowd though, nevertheless.
Well, you traveled a great before the pandemic. Every time I'd see you on Facebook, you were going or coming back from some incredible country. Like, what was the best trip over the past? Because you were on this show 15.
Well, the most colorful trip could have been. I had some gigs in India. I don't know if that was before I did the show or after, but that was pretty special. I don't know, any place I played that they'll have me, but as far as exotic places, I played in Cuba about 6, 7 times, Australia, Russia, China. They're all sensational. Part of the reason I signed up to do this was for the travel perks. Although it's getting less and less of a perk because people are trying to get you to pay for everything these days, overweight, things that really eat into a musician's take at the end of the day. It's getting harder and harder to make a living, guys.
Well, that's also what I wonder. One of the things that you do is you've released a lot.
Yeah, 35 albums at least.
Not even just digital. I mean, you still put out like
CDs
and vinyl.
And vinyl. Yeah.
Right. Where's the bottom line on that? Do you make it up by playing in person, or do enough people buy a hard copy?
Hopefully. You try and sell these things at the shows.
Right.
Then now that the shows are starting to come back, there's more of a chance to do that again. But I'd say you combine the general trend of the world and digitization in the world with what musicians formerly would rely on as income streams to augment their living and try and make a living. It's look, I like to give talks to young people. I've done many master classes. I've got one coming up next week. If you want people to go to my website, check out GaryLucas.com.
Yeah.
I'm giving a private Zoom master class on the 16th, 17th, and 18th next week. But I would tell my students, you gotta be into it because you love it. If people go into it to try and make a lot of money these days, it's not a very, there's a lot easier ways, like you could go into coding, for instance, or, something high tech. Music now is like so ubiquitous thanks to digitization. It's like water out of a tap. And people regard it as such, like unless they're real super fans, they may not give you time to listen to your product, your new music, your new songs, because it doesn't mean it. Very little resonates with people. There's a limited time that they'll allot to even contemplate new music. There are exceptions, of course, and they're hardcore fans, and there are a few people, these young influencers on TikTok, for instance, who can go viral and make a fair amount of money. But in average, like what do you think 1 million streams on Spotify a day? Well, Dave, what's the return, would you guess?
1 million streams. I
Of
would.
a song,
1 million should give you like $50. Is that?
Oh, all right. Well, no, you're being a little.
Oh, am I okay?
No. Okay.
Oh, all right, good. Okay, good.
No,
Good.
the joke.
Is it
Well,
like 1,000?
all I'm going to say, no, 1 million streams, you might be able to net 4,000 to 8,000. That's what 1 million streams these days. If you store a song and you're the artist and you own the master, that's about as much as you're going to get. Now, in the old days, 1 million sales on an album, let's say, or a single even.
It was a gold record, or
Yeah,
something.
it was just, you could put in the swimming pool, let's say, or something. So the economic underpinnings of this is such that it's daunting, but I encourage anybody who wants to make music to do it, because I know nothing that gives me as much joy, than in the moment of playing it. And it's total ecstasy for me, and I forget about all the the various snares and follies you can fall into here. And I'm still doing it at a relatively advanced age. I've been doing it for a long
You're
time.
early 60s, aren't you? You're
Something
what?
like that. Okay, I'll accept that.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
All right, we won't get too specific there, but no, I'm old. I'm solid gold. I've been doing this a long time. So,
And you're a New Yorker when your home
Yeah.
base is Manhattan. So I do want to ask,
Sure.
since this is the anniversary, speaking of age, and 20 years ago, we're old enough to remember. So what was that day like for you
Oh,
20 years
okay.
ago this morning?
Oh, I'll tell you. I happened to be in Paris, and I was there to promote a new release. I did a record of Chinese pop from the 30s for a French label called The Edge of Heaven. Gary Lucas plays mid-century pop. A lot of people would laugh when they hear that title, but it was like a serious effort. I love this era of music. It's not very well known, but I tried to make it better known in the world, which I did to a degree. And well, anyway, so I was coming back from doing the internet or something, and those days I didn't carry a laptop around, so I had to go to these internet cafes. I came back into the hotel, and somebody said, Gary, it's a phone call. And it was a French friend who said, the Twin Towers just fell down. Go to CNN, go look at TV. So I was shocked. I ran up to my room, and then I spent the rest of the day and night watching, doing a vigil. I called my wife. Luckily, the phones were not cut yet. It must have been about 9:30 in New York. I think both towers had come down, and she was on Hudson Street with her cell phone and a bunch of people looking downtown, watching the smoke and horrible. And she said, I'm all right. It's terrible, but I'm okay. So that was good. At least I knew that. And then
you were stuck in Paris. I mean,
I wasn't totally. I had work around Europe and Belgium and Holland. So I fulfilled the dates. I had 2 more weeks of work to promote the record. I mean, it could have been a worse place to be stuck, but I couldn't fly back, that's for sure. But luckily, she was okay, right? So that was a comfort. You know, mom,
I'm curious, since you were in these different countries, since you were in Paris and Belgium and so,
yeah.
what was the feeling there?
Oh, people were at that point, I gotta say, they were incredibly sympathetic to the United States wherever I went. There was an outpouring. I mean, at least in these Western democracy, countries, they were like, they felt, solidarity, and that was a nice feeling. That feeling, once we went in and invaded Iraq,
Yeah.
it all went away, and then the ugly American, stereotypes started to come back, like I noticed in Spain, for instance, or other places. But at that precise moment, there was an outpouring of sympathy for the U.S. There may have been a little bit, serves them right, because of the arrogance of American foreign policy, maybe. There's always going to be that element. But I felt like pretty good about it, in feeling that people really were sympathetic for that time. It just sort of got squandered under Bush.
Do
As like things went on.
do you get affected by things like that to the point where you get it out creatively? Like, did you ever write a song or a
Hey, I'll tell you what I did. I wrote for the Jewish Forward a poem. They asked for some contributors and they were putting me in there. I don't know what happened to you guys, but back in the day, whoever was their editorial page guy liked my work and I'd been on the cover. They said, can you contribute a poem about 9/11 or something, creative writer, to the special issue? So I wrote kind of a haiku, not really in the format, a short little poem. And I can recite it for you now. Remember,
Oh,
it was
please.
called The Death of Irony. And it goes, 911, we are told, signaled the death of irony. A Jew without irony is nothing but a religious fundamentalist.
Hmm.
that
I gotta mull that one over a little bit because everything I do is ironic. So there you go.
Well, that's why we're friends, because that's something in the genes of most Jewish people, except for very, very serious, in my experience, ultra religious Jews. Nothing. I'm not being critical here. I'm just making a statement of my observation.
Yeah, I don't feel it in my jeans, but I feel it in my slacks sometimes.
Okay,
So
there you go.
I
But
find it really,
that's, I mean, like that's the famous Jewish black humor,
well, I'm not black.
gallows humor, whatever you want to call it. Just like, trying to laugh to keep from crying.
Do you feel more or less connected over the past like 20, 30, 40 years to being Jewish, Judaism, either religion
Oh
or
yeah.
you do?
No, I
No,
totally.
okay. Right.
I totally feel connected, although I'm not an observant Jew outside of what my rabbi used to call the revolving door Jews. They're in on Rosh Hashanah and they're out on Yom Kippur. No, or a food Jew. I'm only in it for the food. No, I feel very much a kinship with the Jewish identity. I'm comfortable with it. I love to play in Israel. I wish they'd invite me back
After
again.
the pandemic, they will. Yeah.
I hope so. And I played there a few times. But I've done specifically Jewish music, and some of the projects that I've chosen to work with had Jewish themes. I mean, if you wanted me to recount some,
Well, one or
I
two.
worked with the film The Golem, which is a great 1920 German silent film about the historical Rabbi Lowe, who creates a kind of Frankensteinian monster,
I
but to be
think, yeah.
a servant of Jewish people.
I think
And
the last time you were on the program was around the time you were
I
doing
was,
it. It was a silent film. You were playing
yes, at the New York Film
guitar in
Festival.
person. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, I've done that. The last gig I did before lockdown was I played the Golem up at Cornell University in their cinema. So I've done that, I've taken that all over the world. South Korea, Russia, Australia, Jewish film festivals. big venues, the 100, what's that theater? The United Palace Theater on 175th Street up in Harlem. Reverend Ike's playing. Oh, okay. Well,
Reverend Ike. Oh, I
yeah.
haven't heard about Reverend Ike in.
Reverend Ike.
Wow.
They
Now let
have
me ask you.
services there, huh?
Now, Gary, I also I know the last time I just primed the pump on this because it was
Right.
the thing that made me know who you were. It was like, oh my God, you worked with Beefheart and you were his manager on some strange level for a couple of years, and your friends. Yeah, but any other like over the past since more years have passed since 15 or so years has passed.
Yeah.
What has really stayed with you? I remember you used to talk about the late night phone calls. What do you really so many years later now remember most?
About Don Van Vliet?
Yeah.
Well, I think to this day, I never met anybody remotely like him. He was a force of nature, and he was the most creative person and funny, hilariously, not in a traditional way, but his sense of humor was so wry and askew. And I just think he's one of the greats of the last century, for sure. He's right up there, a great man. He was not always easy to be around. This is pretty well documented. Everybody knows. But I prefer to remember the good stuff. So I guess I have to do a Beefheart song today. I'm writing the
Of course you have to do a Beefheart.
Okay, I'm going to do it for you, Dave. Just for
Well,
Dave Lefkowitz.
It occurs to me just from asking that question, though, that one of the things that Beefheart kind of gave up music late in his career to be a painter, and then of course he became physically ill. But have you, as someone who is so attuned with his fingers and so into music, did you try drawing and painting? Did you go in that route too, or you never?
When I was a boy, actually, before meeting him later on, I had an artistic streak that an art teacher encouraged. So I was making, linoleum block prints and cartoons and also films. I was a young filmmaker of like 8mm stuff with stop motion. But I just moved it all over to music. I just said, I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. And for better or for worse, that's
For better, obviously.
Yeah, but I probably could have kept my hands in. But problem is when you're too talented, I think. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but often the people who are seeing it for the first time, that's my little schnauzer.
That's not
Judging it, Lulu, they say stuff like, they'll pick one of the weaker things you do and say, that's what he really is. And the other stuff doesn't. I mean, I found my wife's coming.
You can pick him up if you want.
Green market, and my dog is so happy to see it.
Can we see? Is the dog
okay? Lulu, the folks want to see you here.
Oh yes, come on. Gotta have a dog moment.
All right, the dog moment.
And you can bring your wife too. I wanted to ask you about that because that has been since that Gary Lucas has been on the show.
Hello.
Oh, hello, welcome. Are you Mrs. Lucas or did you keep your maiden?
Oh, I kept my name, Caroline Sinclair.
Caroline, so are you English?
Yes, how are you?
Oh, pleasure to meet you. How did you meet Gary Lucas?
My God, why are we being zoomed? We met at a party.
Uh-huh.
And then, and then it materialized we lived across the street.
Isn't it always? Was it like love at first, or second sight, or fifth sight, or did he woo you with his music?
About third sight. Yeah. Where are you at the moment?
Well, I'm on Long Island. I'm
on Long Island.
Yeah, like 10 miles from where you guys are. Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought you were in some exotic place.
Well, it's Nassau County, which is fairly exotic. So let me also ask, what do you do? What do you?
I'm a casting director.
Oh, excuse me. Hello. What? She's a casting director. Whoa. So to mention, I'm an actor, and available and cute.
Send me a headshot.
Send me a headshot.
Sure, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So,
David, not the nudes.
But my wife isn't letting me show the nudes. But let me see the dog. Let me see. This is what's the dog. Oh, very nice to meet you. Oh, look at that little schnoodle. Oh, that's
Show him Mufti. Show the picture of Mufti.
Our dog had Our late dog Ufti had a nose kind of like that.
he looks like,
Yeah.
oh,
So
yeah,
there are very, very. Yeah, well, that's a schnauzer. You
Yeah,
said?
mini schnauzer.
she's very noisy.
She barks when Caroline comes home or she hears somebody in the corridor.
So let me ask you. I know she's still sort of on camera. So what's it like being married to a musician? Because for the past year and a half, he's been home a lot more than musicians would tend to be.
She left. No comment. What is it like being married to a musician?
No comment.
And my resume will be coming at you
Take the
soon.
5th. Come on, take the 5th on that.
Fair enough. You're more than welcome to take the 5th. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure. What do you cast for? I am actually curious. What kind of shows or theater or what?
I do films and I do commercials, new media, and a little theater if people ask me, but mostly films.
Mostly. So if there are any snuff films, I'm absolutely available. I'll do pretty much anything. Snuff, porn.
Are you an actor? Seriously?
Seriously, yeah. Seriously, I am.
Yeah.
I'm tremendously talented. Yes, as you can tell.
Send me a headshot. Seriously, I'm doing a film at the moment. Are we on? Where are we? This is just a private Zoom.
No,
No, it's not. I have an audience. It's like, yeah, we're just doing this for fun. No, you're on camera on a show that I've been doing for 19 years.
God. All right, this is his. What do I know? I just went out shopping and I came back with groceries. I cast films and I do most on TV.
Oh my God! Well, it is a pleasure. What is your name again? Just so I write this down.
Sorry, Caroline Sinclair.
Caroline Sinclair. What a lovely name. Well, and also I'm going to compliment you even if I don't mean it, because of course you're a casting director, Caroline Sinclair. No, but it really is. What a lucky man you are, Gary Lucas. How delightful.
Please tell him how lucky he is.
So lucky.
He's so lucky.
He is very, very
It was
lucky.
a mitzvah meeting Caroline. It was a mitzvah.
It's lovely to meet you.
You too. Go unpack your groceries. I have a couple more quick questions for Gary. And you will be getting my headshot in the mail and a blood sample and some skin.
No, seriously, I look forward to getting it.
You betcha. Thank you. A pleasure to meet you. Yeah, let's just troll for work while I'm on the show. 19 years I've been wanting to get producers on the show, casting agents, just so I could not do this for my life, but actually be out there on a movie. Yeah. But Gary, before I let you go, how are you deciding? 35 I'm sorry, what?
I'm laughing.
35 albums, right?
Oh my God.
Hundreds of thousands of songs and musical compositions.
Yeah.
How do you decide?
I don't know. I kind of
Yeah.
tried to pick ones that some songs I hadn't played in a while. So but there's always somebody who might be disappointed. Oh, you didn't do that one. It's just whatever felt appropriate at the moment. I don't give it that much thought on the solo stuff. They just come to me like, okay, I better do this. I got to do that. Time constraint is some of it too. And I realized today we have a lot of band stuff. I just did 2 days of rehearsal with them. It's far more than we probably needed to rehearse. So I don't know. It's just the stuff that I think will sound the best and make the most impact in the live that's not too difficult to pull off.
Is there one?
Because I don't really want there's a lot of factors, but the comfort and expediency factor is like paramount. In other words, I don't want it to be, I want it to be a fun experience for the audience to hear this stuff, even if they don't know it.
Well, let me also ask.
I don't know.
Not even connected to today, and not a Beefheart number. But if you want to pick one or two.
Oh yeah, I have a number. Okay,
Well, yeah.
so like here it is.
Oh my goodness! You're gonna yay!
I did this for Holocaust Remembrance Day a couple of years
fun!
ago at the United Nations. Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I'll do it in the show because if people say to me, "What's your favorite gig? What was the best gig you ever played?" I'd say at the United Nations before the General Assembly, solo. I got up on that dais followed by Donald Trump. No, but he was up there a couple years later.
If you could just tilt the camera so that we see you playing actually, because we see you, but we want to make sure you can see also your guitar, which I can't see. So you got to tilt it like back rather than forward.
That better?
Then, yeah, that's better.
Okay, then you're cutting my head off. I don't care. Okay, so
Yeah, you can move back. Yeah.
I have to get this in a nice tuning.
Does that guitar have a story, by the way? It looks like it's been through some stuff.
Yeah, well, it's from 1941, this thing. And it's my favorite. Let me just get my tuner.
Of course, yeah.
Gibson from the era where it said on the headstock, only a Gibson is good enough. That's what it's written up here.
Wow.
And I always loved these as a boy because they were the bluesiest guitars. And I'm putting this in a special open tuning. I use a lot of open tunings. And this is open E. Almost there. Just bear with me. Okay, here we go. Janacek on an overgrown path, number 15, Allegro.
Gary Lucas there, man. Now, did you say that was based on like a composition?
Janacek, yeah, the Czech classical composer Leos Janacek has a piano suite on an overgrown path, Lulu, in 2 books. This is from the second book, and it's called the number 15 Allegro. It just was one of those pieces. When I heard it, I got shivers, like, wow. And then something just spoke to me, like I could probably figure out how to play this on guitar. And I sat with my guitar, and I didn't have sheet music. I did it by ear. I transcribe a lot of classical stuff by ear.
Yeah.
And I do it in open tunings to give this kind of characteristic bluesy, twangy flavor. That's sort of a hallmark of my playing, is this Americana thing. You know, I maintain that the blues element can be found all over the world in all sorts of different kind of music, classical music, Chinese, Jamaican music, Celtic. You'd be surprised. Everybody hurts, everybody feels, you know, some kind of blues feeling and one time or another. And there's different shades of blues, you know, like happy, sad blues. And so my thing is to find music when I'm covering other people's or cultures' music, like Indian music, where I can really get in there and play these things in my style, but keep a flavor of that wailing elements. You know, that's what it is. It's like it's a Jewish music for sure.
Well, it's such a weird
Uh,
because when I was listening to it, it's like, well, that can't be classical because it really felt folky for a while and
Yeah,
bluegrassy for a little bit, and then it had a little bit of a jump blues to it. I was like, good lord! But as you were saying, it literally was inspired by a Janacek.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you, you could A/B it on the recording, and you'd realize it was very faithfully. I don't take too many liberties. I try and get all of the correct notes in there, but it comes out in my style because you're taking a piece for piano. This is Beefheart did this a lot. He wrote a lot for piano, and then he'd hand it to me or another guitarist. Say, learn that on a guitar. So naturally, it's gonna change the flavor of it overall when you hear it. But I tell you, at the UN, I played that. I got a great introduction. You can see it on YouTube. Just type in Gary Lucas Holocaust Remembrance Day, United Nations, and you will find a clip of me playing it live.
I want to hear that again. Yeah.
Yeah, with a beautiful introduction. And here's the funny thing. So I played up to that point, and then I took a repeat. I didn't take the repeat with you because I didn't want to eat up time. Because the thing actually runs about the way I play it about 4 minutes. And they were originally only giving me 3, and then they liked it. They said, yeah, you can take the extra minute. So I took the repeat, and I noticed all the heads of there were a lot of diplomats and serious people. They all had their head looking down at the desk when I started this piece. Then when I went into, I took the repeat back to the top, everybody's head kind of went up like this, like, whoa. Because they were probably like, hey, this sounds familiar. Yeah, I just played it, No, I didn't say that, but it could be that was the familiarity factor, having heard it played
I
through.
mean, 2 minutes ago, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah.
Oh, that piece, okay. So
And one other thing I wanted just from watching you play.
I got a good ovation there. You'll see on the
Yeah. We in the quiz that we had before you came on the air, we had a quiz and I had a story about banjos, a question about banjos.
right.
From the way I was watching you play, it had sort of a banjo clawhammer thing. Is that your thing? Do you play banjo too, or
I don't, but I think some of my technique could be a little bit. I worked a lot with Peter Stanfill for a while from the Holy Modal Rounders.
He was on this show like a couple months ago.
Right. Well, he's a very good banjo picker, and I like an active right hand. Yeah. I didn't. No. A lot of guitarists don't really do finger picking. It's something, It's not inherent. A lot of players, like I basically, up until a certain point, was a flat picking, heavy rock guitarist, and I emulated the sound of active finger picking with rapid picking of just a flat pick. But I found that when I actually was shown the rudiments of finger picking, it liberated me because it made the guitar sound very orchestral. You could get a lot of voices going at once. It's like holding a little mini orchestra in your hands. Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me remind people that there will be orchestrations aplenty for all different permutations of duets and trios and a band and several bands and several special guests coming tonight. Live in person. You're not streaming this as well. It's only in person, right? Or
I don't remember if I signed the stream. I mean, maybe it is, but I think, we'll have some clips that'll come up. I mean, I'm not really. It's going to be what it's going to be. I've got photographers there.
Yeah.
Throw the full money and hire the club to film. I don't know. I'm working on a de minimis here. If you know what I mean. I'm trying to.
Well, this is your part. I mean, people should be fetting you.
Yeah, I don't really.
Your night.
It's like I don't intend to lose money at these gigs, but on a gig like this, I'm bound to with all these guests. So
Well, but it's going
Yeah.
to let's remind people because some of the folks who are thirsting more from Sonic Youth will be there. In your band, you've got Jerry Harrison of the Talking Heads. You've
Yeah.
got Nona Hendrix in there somewhere. You've got,
This she couldn't make this one, but I have albums with her on it. Let's see: Thurston, Trixie Whitley, Jerry Harrison, Ernie Brooks, Richard Barone, Emily,
right.
Felice Rosser, Richard Dworkin,
And who knows? Maybe a
and
couple of other surprise people
well, I
coming.
don't nobody I know of, but maybe Elijah will show up, and then I'll put him on the keyboard or something.
So
Jason
this is
Canada.
Gary Lucas's show. It's his 40th anniversary show. Basically, even though he's been playing music a little bit longer than 40 years, it's kind of the anniversary doc at the radar station plus 1 year.
Yeah, kind of like that.
It's at Le Poisson Rouge on Bleecker Street. Was it 35 Bleecker, you said?
185.
195 Bleecker, excuse me.
185.
185 Bleecker. I need to get
It's all, you'll find it. You'll see a big line stretching down into it, hopefully. No.
God willing, tonight, thank you. Tonight at, what was it, 8 o'clock at Le Poisson?
8 o'clock, sharp, 8 to 10.
Yeah, it's not like you get there at 9:15 and
No,
midnight.
no excuses.
Yeah.
Be there, be in your seat there by 8.
Bring your vaccination card.
Bring your vaccination
Yeah,
mask.
I have to say, that's right.
Yeah. So and for more information about Gary and to find his music, get his music, and find out where he's playing, first of all, get on his Facebook page because he's always posting like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm being here and this is just re-released or released. And his website, GaryLucas.com, GaryLucas, GaryLucas.com. So Gary, first of all, congratulations on 40 plus years in music. Congratulations on having such a wonderful and talented and beautiful wife.
You hear that, Caroline?
Biggest woman I've ever met who is just the most giving and generous and
she's all that.
casty person ever who will make me rich and famous person, wife of yours. But you're a very lucky man, and she's a very lucky lady too. So much continued good health, much continued great music. You said you're working on an album. When's that happening?
Let's see. I just came out with a new one under the title Le Beast Concrete. It's a kind of
Is it like music concrete? Is it really fun?
Yeah, it's beats and samples, very exotic sounding, danceable in spots with a DJ and producer David Sisko. So that's out digitally only. Okay. Then there's an album coming out in November with a great young Dutch singer, acoustic bassist, Peter Willems. I made this in Holland with him a year ago. He's putting it out in 2 stages. There's another one with a French singer that's in the works. I just recorded in Philly with Jamaluddin Takuma and Calvin Weston on a project called Triple X. Those guys played with Ornette Coleman and James Blood Ulmer. So a lot of different kind of music, always, constantly. I don't like to stay in one spot too long.
Well, now that the pandemic's easing back, we're going to see you moving all around the world.
I hope so. I got some dates now in Paris and Holland and maybe UK, and let's hope.
And hey, Israel's coming.
Yeah, and Italy.
Make the
right. I hope so. Tell them.
Gary Lucas, Mazel Tov on everything. Much Hatzlacha, a word I'm sure you know. Luck and good things and good health to you. Thanks so much for being here in the neighborhood.
All right, have a great day, man.
You too.
Take care. Bye now.